What if Goku was evil and Vegeta was good? And by that I mean, what if it was Vegeta who was sent to Earth as a baby, while Goku was the one who later came as a villain? Today, we are doing the ultimate role reversal in Dragon Ball Z, and we're breaking it all down into 5 key points. First up, we'll talk about the timeline. We'll obviously need to tweak things to make this swap work, but how exactly do we pull this off without breaking the lore? Second, we have to look at the ripple effect on OG Dragon Ball. How does this change the story? And more importantly, who will Vegeta marry? Would he still marry Bulma? Or maybe? Actually, never mind. That's way too cursed. Moving on to point number 3. When will Goku finally appear? And just how strong will he be? Remember, Goku was born with a power level of only 2, so seeing him as a villain is going to be incredibly interesting. 4th is the big question. When will Goku finally redeem himself and settle on Earth, just like the original Vegeta did? And finally, for point number 5, what's the aftermath of Goku joining the Z Fighters? What comes next in the story? Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. And with that said, let's get into it. Starting with the first point, we have the timeline. And what we're going to do is that we're going to swap their birth years. Vegeta is now born when Goku was supposed to be born, and Goku is born in Vegeta's original year. Now, this does not mean Vegeta will start with a power level of 2 like Goku did. If we did that, it'd just be the exact same story, which is not what we're doing here. Still, if it's not 2, what is it? Well, we don't actually know what Vegeta's official power level was at birth, so how about we make an educated guess? The fandom assumes that it was somewhere between 500 and 6,200. I'd say it was likely above Broly's lowest fluctuating level of 920, but significantly below infant Broly's peak of 10,000. So how about this? We'll set baby Vegeta's power level at 1,000, and let me point out that this is 500 times stronger than Goku was at birth. Next, why would Vegeta, the Prince of all Saiyans, end up on a backwater planet like Earth anyway? Well, in this reality, when King Vegeta receives word that the Frieza Force is about to invade, he realizes he needs to preserve his bloodline in the worst case scenario. So he sends baby Vegeta to a random distant planet, which conveniently turns out to be Earth. Vegeta lands, hits his head at Mount Paozu, and is discovered by Grandpa Gohan. Gohan adopts him, but wait, what would Grandpa Gohan name him? Would he still name him Son Goku? Well, actually, the answer is no. Because King Vegeta wanted to preserve his family's heritage, he attached a recording device inside the space pod intended for whoever found the child. So when Grandpa Gohan picks him up, the device activates and reveals the baby's name. Gohan learns the boy's name and, out of respect for his origins, simply starts calling him Vegeta. And before we proceed, I would like to thank today's sponsor, Polybuzz. Polybuzz is an app that allows you to chat with over 1 million anime characters. And not only that, but about literally anything you want. Whether you want a casual chat with your favorite anime characters like Goku, Luffy, Ichigo, or Vegeta, or whether you want to make your wildest dreams a reality by chatting with your favorite waifus like Android 18, Nami, Orihime, or Hinata, Polybuzz makes all these a reality. For example, here's my chat with Goku. Hey, any chance you can show me how to go Super Saiyan? Goku's reply? Well, once you download Polybuzz yourself, you can ask him yourself and find out. And yet this was just one of the countless conversations you can have yourself with any anime character you want. And not just that, you can even create your very own AI characters, personalize their traits, and chat with them about anything you want. And let me just tell you that as an anime fan, you will never get bored of it. And by using my code Saiyan88, you'll get access to 3 days premium membership completely free of charge. Use my link in the description down below to download Polybuzz AI and start chatting with your favorite anime characters today. Believe me, you will not regret it. But now, let's get back to our video. Now, time for point number 2. We have to talk about the ripple effect on OG Dragon Ball, because having a kid with a power level of 1,000 living on Earth could potentially make the early days of Dragon Ball look very, very different. Do you realize how crazy this is? No character before the start of DBZ had a power level over 1,000, which means infant Vegeta is already stronger than King Piccolo and Kami combined. And just imagine if Vegeta turned into a grade 8, his power level would multiply by 10 and reach 10,000. This is literally an apocalyptic scenario for Earth. Naturally, Grandpa Gohan soon also understands that he's not the right person to raise this boy, which is why about 2 years after Vegeta lands, he takes him to the Kame house. He wants Master Roshi to raise the boy, and more importantly, teach him how to control his ki. Grandpa Gohan would still visit from time to time, but Vegeta's primary caretaker and his first master would become Master Roshi. As Vegeta gets older, he'll teach him how to control his ki, and on the day when Vegeta transforms into a great ape for the first time, he'll use Kamehameha to destroy the moon! And he'll also cut Vegeta's tail. Now, the flow of time continues, and around the age of 12, as Vegeta visits Grandpa Gohan at Mount Paozu, a certain blue-haired girl arrives looking for the Dragon Balls. At this point, Vegeta's power level is going to be over 9,000 thanks to all the training he has done with Master Roshi during the past decade. Now, I know what you're thinking here. What about Vegeta's personality? If he trained with Master Roshi for such a long time, especially during his childhood, won't he get influenced by Roshi's pervy and lecherous personality? Yes, but not in the way that you think. He'd develop a severe dislike for all things that are not safe for work. So when the pervy moments happen, as he sets out with Bulma to look for the other Dragon Balls, he'll get unreasonably annoyed. Bulma would find this cute and gradually start falling for him, which means that the Bulma x Yamcha situationship never happens. Aside from this, Vegeta's early life would be pretty straightforward. There won't be anyone who's an actual challenge to him, and the gang would easily gather the Dragon Balls. However, when it's time to ask for a wish, Bulma would be at a loss, because now that she's fallen for Vegeta, her original wish about asking for a boyfriend doesn't matter to her anymore. And at the same time, she does not want to use the wish to make Vegeta fall for her either. So she'll tell Vegeta to wish for whatever he wants instead. And what do you think Vegeta would wish for? He doesn't know he's a Saiyan. His personality is kind of like young Goku's, aside from the fact that he's less dumb and his asexuality is actually out of spite. And because Grandpa Gohan would still be alive, he won't have anyone to revive either. So Vegeta would think for a while and then finally have his aha moment. And you're never gonna guess what he'd wish for. He'd wish, and I quote, "I wish that Master Roshi would never watch, read, or look at anything inappropriate ever again." The wish is granted, and from that point onward, the laws of the universe start going out of their way to make sure there's always zero inappropriate media in Roshi's life. He experiences severe withdrawals for the first few months, but eventually locks in, becomes a monk, and sets out on a journey. He'll meet Krillin during his journey, train him, and also introduce him to Vegeta. Coming back to Vegeta's full story, not a lot's gonna happen the way it did in Goku's story, but the key events will stay the same. The first martial arts tournament would happen, and the participants would be the same, except instead of Goku, it'd be Vegeta. The finals would be Vegeta versus Jackie Chun, and well, Jackie Chun would put up a good fight. Basically, even though his power level would be below 1,000, in contrast to Vegeta's power level, which is over 9,000 now, his martial arts mastery would allow him to evade and redirect Vegeta's attacks. After all, if he could stall Jiren for a moment during the Tournament of Power in the actual story, he can handle young Vegeta. But ultimately, Jackie Chun loses, and Vegeta wins. Vegeta then sets out on his own to experience the world, and while Bulma yearns for him, he faces off and dismantles the Red Ribbon Army. And fast forward to the second martial arts tournament, which leads to the King Piccolo saga. He makes sure nobody dies, and then he kills King Piccolo. He one-shots him, but conveniently, that one-shot happens in such a way that King Piccolo gets to produce Piccolo's egg, which means that Piccolo happens in this story as well. After this, Vegeta gets acquainted with Kami and Mr. Popo, but there's nothing they can teach him, so he ends up getting bored. Vegeta still does his regular training, which is why his power level keeps increasing gradually, and it's already at 18,000 by the time he turns 18 years old. However, he started to get bored because there's no one stronger than him. He's like the Gojo Satoru of Dragon Ball. Now, speaking of 18-year-old Vegeta, it's time for the next martial arts tournament. In the actual manga, this is where Goku fights Piccolo, and this is also where Goku accepts Chi-Chi as his wife. But is something similar going to happen to Vegeta? Well, he definitely participates and then wins the tournament. And then as everyone is celebrating at the Capsule Corporation by having their barbecue party, one where Vegeta also invites Piccolo, Krillin starts talking about how he recently got a girlfriend, which by the way, is Launch. The butterfly effect from Master Roshi becoming a monk somehow leads to Krillin and Launch. And by Launch, I mean Launch's aggressive personality falling for Krillin. As this conversation is going on, Krillin asks Vegeta if he ever thought about getting married, and before Vegeta can reply, Bulma talks about how he hates that kind of thing. So Vegeta has to correct her by pointing out that he doesn't hate marriage or girls, he only hates whenever Master Roshi was up to. This catches Bulma off guard, so she proposes to him right there, which catches Vegeta off guard. So he accepts her proposal, and then everybody claps. No, just kidding. They've got a wedding a few days later where everyone is invited. Grandpa Gohan gets teary-eyed as he sees Vegeta get hitched. Meanwhile, Krillin is also crying, but in this case, it's because Launch's OG personality dumped him. Fast forward to 5 years later, Vegeta and Bulma's son Trunks is now over 4 years old, which means it's time for point number 3. It's time for Goku, or should I say Kakarot, to appear. At this point, Vegeta's power level is actually close to 90,000. In the past 5 years, he continued his training, and he also trained a lot with Krillin, Yamcha, and Tien, which raised the standards of the Z Fighters as a whole. I mean, even Yamcha now has a power level over 2,000, which means Yamcha, can solo Raditz and your average Cyberman. And as you would expect, this creates a problem. Goku's power level at birth was 2. If we assume that he lived the same life as Raditz, then he won't be any stronger than Raditz, which means he'll be a Yamcha victim. And could you imagine that? Can you imagine a fight where Yamcha is the victor and Goku is the victim? Well, don't worry too much, because let me tell you that while Vegeta was having his arc on Earth, Goku was having his own arc. To give you a short answer, he has already killed Nappa and Raditz. As for the long answer, let me explain what happened. When Planet Vegeta was destroyed, Goku's power level was below 300, but he was so loyal to his Saiyan bloodline despite being a low-class Saiyan that unlike Raditz or Nappa, who were mostly indifferent, Goku experienced pure rage at what Frieza did. This caused his power level to spike for a moment, and so he realized that rage can increase your baseline when it comes to power level. From that point onward, Goku started getting into fights all the time and gradually also learned about Zenkai boosts. He then began planning for the day when he'll reach a power level that'll allow him to get revenge on Frieza. And because Raditz and Nappa were slackers who remained content with being parts of the Frieza Force, he eventually killed them and left the Frieza Force. That was 10 years ago. And at this point, Goku's power level was around 10,000. However, over the past 10 years, he's experienced so many near-death situations that his power level, by the time he appears on Earth, is now twice as much as Vegeta's power level. It's 180,000! That's so high in the context of early Dragon Ball Z that Frieza has deemed him a potential threat, which is why the Ginyu Force is now actively looking for him. Now, speaking of looking, you may be wondering about how Goku is even going to learn about Vegeta. It'll be thanks to a fortune teller he'll meet on a random planet of sages during his journey to get strong enough to defeat Frieza. He'll share his story and talk about how he's the only Saiyan left, when the fortune teller would reveal that there's more Saiyans, like Broly and Paragus, who are at planet Vampa, or Vegeta and his son Trunks, who are on planet Earth. Of course, when someone like Goku, who has made his life all about revenge for what happened to the Saiyans, learns that the Saiyan Prince is actually still alive, he'll be beyond excited. He sets out to Earth with the intention of asking for Vegeta's help in destroying Frieza. When Goku lands on Earth, Vegeta, Piccolo, and the Z-Fighters immediately sense his absurdly high power level. Vegeta stops his daily training routine at the Capsule Corporation and flies to exactly where Goku landed. They meet, and Goku drops the lore bomb about the Saiyans, how they are both Saiyans, what happened to Planet Vegeta, and how he is now on the path of getting revenge, and everything. Vegeta hears him out, and while Vegeta is hearing him out, Piccolo also appears and joins in on the listening, but Goku immediately shoots him with an energy blast that hits Piccolo almost like Hollow Purple hit Toji, and leaves him to the point of near death. And although Piccolo heals after 10 minutes of pain, Vegeta is furious. He asks Goku to explain himself, and this just rubs Goku the wrong way. He wonders why the Saiyan Prince cares about a low power level Namekian, so he uses his scouter and checks Vegeta's power level, and he's left speechless when he realizes that Vegeta's power level is only 5,000. Remember, Vegeta knows ki control, so his apparent power level would be naturally low, but Goku doesn't know that. He gets disappointed all by himself as he rants about how the royal bloodline is wasted, how they've let the Saiyans down, so now he has no choice but to kill Vegeta and his son. He unleashes all of his power, moves at a level of speed that Vegeta cannot perceive, and then hits Vegeta right in the gut, sending him flying straight into multiple mountains. Vegeta somehow regains his footing, and his aura starts flaring up. Goku's scouter notices this, and it shoots up from 5,000 all the way to 90,000. Seeing this, Goku smiles. The royal bloodline still got it, he says in his mind. However, this is not enough to make him accept Vegeta's weak-ass attitude toward his Saiyan lineage. So, with his power level of 180,000, he faces Vegeta in battle. And as you can expect, he has the upper hand. He is twice as strong as Vegeta, after all. The only reason Vegeta doesn't immediately get destroyed is because Vegeta trained in martial arts all of his life, while Goku is mostly using raw power. Goku is also just playing around. He even asks Vegeta what a Namekian is doing on this planet, and if that thing about the Namekians being able to grant wishes is true. But Vegeta does not answer. While he has had a similar upbringing as Goku, he's not as dumb as him. He knows when to keep his mouth shut. Still, eventually, as Goku gets serious, the battle becomes completely one-sided. Goku starts giving Vegeta the same treatment as the iconic treatment Nolan gives Mark in Invincible. At some point, Goku slams Vegeta into the side of a mountain and asks Vegeta why he's acting like a weakling despite being so strong. Why he got angry over a Namekian. To Goku, the Saiyan race is everything, and seeing the prince of his people acting like this is actually making him sick. He keeps beating Vegeta in an attempt to try and awaken his Saiyan pride through pure violence. He keeps yelling, "Think, Vegeta, think!" But Vegeta is not interested in what he has to say. Goku ultimately realizes that Vegeta has been completely broken by Earth's influence. He powers up to his absolute limit and decides decides that Vegeta has to die. He braces himself to land his final attack on Vegeta, but right before landing it, he pauses as he recalls the fact that Vegeta has a son. Well, he tells Vegeta that after he kills him, he'll take his son and personally train him in the way of the Saiyans, so he doesn't end up a disappointment like him. After saying this, Goku raises his hand to finish Vegeta off, but that's when everything changes, because if there's one thing you don't do to Vegeta, it's to threaten his family. For a moment, Vegeta's power level skyrockets to the point where he gains an edge on Goku. He punches Goku in the gut, and while Goku is still reeling from the shock, Vegeta gets behind Goku and locks his arms back. He pins him in a full Nelson grip. You can hear Goku's ribs start to scream under the pressure. Yep, it's exactly the same as what Goku did to Raditz in the actual manga. Now, immediately after he has Goku in his hold, Vegeta yells for Piccolo, who, as it turns out, has been supercharging a special beam cannon all this time. And now that Goku is locked in place and can't dodge, the opportunity has presented itself. About 7 seconds later, Piccolo shoots the special beam cannon. It hits Goku at full power, but surprisingly enough, it's not powerful enough to blow a hole through Goku's body. After all, Piccolo's maximum power level is just a little over 30,000. That's not enough to fatally hurt Goku. Yes, Goku loses a lot of HP because it's still a critical hit, but he survives the blow. However, losing the HP makes it easier for Vegeta to hold him in place. Goku tries his hardest to make Vegeta let go, but it's no use. Vegeta's hold is so strong that even if Goku's power level was thrice as much as him, Goku still wouldn't be able to make him let go. But what next? Piccolo is obviously not strong enough to kill Goku, so how are they gonna resolve the situation? First, let me tell you about who else tries to enter the chat. About 2 minutes after Piccolo's cannon fails to kill Goku, an airplane carrying Bulma, Trunks, Krillin, and Yamcha enters their view. As it turns out, Bulma got suspicious when Vegeta left before finishing his daily training, and so she rallied the boys and got to the scene as well. Of course, Goku sees the plane approaching, and so he opens his mouth to blast an energy beam at them. Vegeta realizes that the ki from the energy blast is going to be strong enough to kill them all, so he uses his hand to shut Goku's mouth right as the blast is about to be unleashed. It explodes inside Goku's mouth, which hurts even more of Goku's HP. But the good news for Goku is that Vegeta's hold on him finally loosens. He immediately kicks Vegeta back and brings out the artificial moon, which allows him to transform into a Great Ape, which, as we know, multiplies his power level by 10. That means Goku's power level is now 1.8 million. That's above second form Frieza. He wreaks havoc worse than you'd expect, but thanks to Krillin using the Destructo Disc to cut off his tail, Goku reverts back to normal, and with no more energy left to stand, let alone fight, he starts crawling towards a space pod. Piccolo decides to finish him off with one last beam, but Vegeta stops him. After all, Goku did not take any lives, so he asks Piccolo to let him go. Okay, time for our fourth point, Goku's redemption. Goku survives, and thanks to the epic Zenkai boost, his power level reaches 240,000. Vegeta also experiences Zenkai boost and reaches 180,000, but things are about to escalate very quickly and intensely. Although Goku survived, he passed out at his space pod and was eventually captured by the Ginyu Force. When he opens his eyes, he realizes that he's now inside a rejuvenation chamber in Frieza's spaceship. He sneaks out, and while wandering around the ship, he overhears two of Frieza's goons talking about how the intelligence team had a built-in backdoor listening device in Kakarot's scouter. They know that the Saiyan Prince is alive, and they also know about Kakarot's so-called revenge. He even learns that Frieza has sent the Ginyu Force to Earth to see if the Namekian ability to grant wishes is true. Hearing all of this, Goku kills the two goons, steals a random space pod, and launches out of the spaceship. Fast forward to a month later, the Ginyu Force arrives on Earth, and unlike Goku, whose body count on Earth was 0, they actually start killing a lot of civilians. Vegeta can handle them easily though, because even Captain Ginyu, the strongest out of the 5, only has a power level of 120,000. However, as he defeats the other 4, Captain Ginyu gets impressed by his body and performs the body exchange. And as you know, this results in Ginyu taking Vegeta's body, while Vegeta ends up in Ginyu's body. But much to Ginyu's surprise, his power level is only between 20 to 30,000. He doesn't know ki control, so he can't use all of Vegeta's power. Conveniently, Piccolo's power level is above that, so he beats the Vegeta-looking Captain Ginyu. But the big question for Piccolo is, how can Vegeta return to his actual body? While this is going on, a space pod lands on Earth. It's Goku. He immediately gets to the scene, and as shocked as Vegeta, Captain Ginyu, and Piccolo are, Goku is locked in. He destroys all their scouters with ki blasts, then checks the bodies of the other 4 members and actually kills them, unlike Vegeta, who would only knock them out. Seeing this, Captain Ginyu decides to trade bodies with Goku. He shouts change and fires that iconic soul-swapping blast, but Goku uses his superior speed to grab Ginyu's original body, which is currently Vegeta, Vegeta and shoves it directly into the line of the exchange blast. And just like that, Vegeta gets his own body back. And then, before Ginyu can try anything else, Goku blasts him into smithereens. Of course, Piccolo and Vegeta have a lot of questions. But first, Goku tells Piccolo to take Vegeta and get him help. Otherwise, he's not going to survive. Still, why is Goku suddenly being so cooperative? It's because as much as he was intent on killing Vegeta during their fight, he now knows that once Frieza learns what happened to the Ginyu Force, he'll make his move and personally come to the Earth. Goku cannot allow a reality where Frieza gets his way. To that end, he's willing to cooperate with Vegeta to put Frieza down. Piccolo hears him out and asks how long it'll be before Frieza arrives. Goku responds, anywhere between 1 to 3 weeks. Frieza's spaceship is actually quite close to the solar system. Piccolo tells Goku to stay where he is and not to leave. Goku, whose mind is preoccupied with how to defeat Frieza, complies and starts thinking aggressively. Piccolo takes Vegeta's body to Capsule Corp and reveals the incoming threat to the other Z fighters, like Krillin, Yamcha, and Tien. Then, once the next batch of Senzu beans are ready in 2 weeks, Vegeta uses one to recover. And as he goes back to full health, he realizes he has received such an abnormal increase in power that he can't even believe it. He had overheard Piccolo and Goku's conversation about Frieza, and yet he now thinks he can take him on. So what do you think? What will be his power level now? In the actual manga, Goku's base power level at Namek was 90,000, and with Kaioken, it was 180,000 before his Ginyu fiasco. However, after recovering, his power level reached 3 million. Meanwhile, Vegeta's base power level was 180,000, and now it's 5 million. But of course, it's nowhere near enough to win against Frieza, who arrives the same day Vegeta recovers. Goku takes him on first, but gets brutally beaten by first form Frieza. Vegeta, Piccolo, and the Z fighters arrive with Senzu beans, and Vegeta feeds one to Goku. Thanks to the Zenkai boost, his power level goes from 240,000 to 2 million. He gets overconfident and tries again, but gets brutally beaten once more. He doesn't mind though, because he thinks all he needs is another bean to go back to full health. However, Frieza suddenly enters his final form and blows up the beans with his death beam. He then kills Goku with another one of the beams. That's it. Things are now serious. Vegeta faces Frieza, and as much as he has an upper hand against a heavily suppressed Frieza, the tide turns quickly. Once Frieza uses 50% of his power, Vegeta becomes fodder. Keep in mind that unlike Goku versus Frieza fight in the actual manga, Vegeta does not have any Kaioken to multiply his power level. He has to fight 50% Frieza, whose power level is 60 million, with just his base power level of 5 million. He's beaten to the point of near death, and then Frieza starts killing the other Z fighters, kills Yamcha and Tien, and grabs Piccolo by the neck to ask him about the Namekian power to grant wishes. But while his attention's on Piccolo, Krillin notices a Senzu bean on the ground, which somehow survived Frieza's attack. He grabs it and throws it at Vegeta, and thanks to yet another Zenkai boost, Vegeta reaches a power level of 30 million. Yet it's still not enough. He's still only half as strong as 50% Frieza. Frieza beats him again, then kills Piccolo, and tells the Frieza Force he's going to search the entire planet and see if there are any other Namekians. They set out and start wreaking havoc across the entire planet. Then, while Vegeta is once again on the verge of death, Frieza mentions that he also knows Vegeta has a son, and that he sent Zarbon and Dodoria to find him and bring him here. This fills Vegeta's soul with a rage that he didn't even know existed within him. And as this rage is trying to wake up, Frieza does something that makes Vegeta's rage explode. He blows up Krillin, who had long since become Vegeta's best friend. Just like that, Vegeta transforms into the Super Saiyan, and thanks to the 50 times multiplier, he reaches a power level of 1.5 billion. That's 10 times as much as Goku's power level as a Super Saiyan on Namek. And this means that Frieza is now complete fodder to him. Even at 100% power, Frieza is only at 120 million, which now is nothing to Vegeta. To give you a better idea, Frieza is now to Vegeta what Yamcha was to Saiyan Saga Vegeta in the original manga. And so, that's it. Vegeta beats Frieza worse than he's ever beaten anyone. And even when Frieza desperately tries to destroy the Earth with the Death Ball, Vegeta simply vaporizes it with a casual energy blast. He kills Frieza, which is actually his first kill since coming to Earth as an infant. After that, Vegeta also takes care of all the Frieza Force goons who are destroying the Earth. He takes out Zarbon and Dodoria too, but unfortunately, tens of millions of lives were lost, including those of Krillin, Yamcha, Tien, and Piccolo, which means they no longer have any Dragon Balls. Fortunately, just like in the original story, they figure out that the Namekian home planet must also have their own Dragon Balls. Then, upon learning about Kami's spaceship from Mr. Popo and finding it, Bulma gets to work. Bulma, Vegeta, and Trunks leave Earth 11 days after the invasion by the Frieza Force. They reach planet Namek over a month later, and within 2 months since Frieza's defeat, everyone on Earth who was killed by him and his goons is revived. Naturally, this means Goku is revived too. Next, for the second wish, Vegeta asks Porunga if there's a technique he can use to teleport between places immediately. Porunga uses his power to directly imprint the knowledge and the key sensing mastery required for instant transmission into Vegeta's mind. Vegeta uses instant transmission and returns to Earth with Bulma and Trunks. Once back on the planet Earth, Goku and Vegeta have a conversation where Goku asks Vegeta how he managed to defeat Frieza. In response, Vegeta shows him the Super Saiyan transformation, which completely catches Goku off guard. You see, unlike the OG Vegeta who couldn't shut up about the Super Saiyan on Namek, Goku had never even heard about it. But wait, if Goku doesn't know about it, how will they ever learn that it's called Super Saiyan? Don't worry, Vegeta already knows. He tells Goku that at the end, Frieza called him the Super Saiyan. When Goku hears about all of this, he realizes that the reason Frieza did what he did to the Saiyans must have been because he was afraid of this. He was afraid of the Super Saiyan. Goku suddenly feels proud of his Saiyan blood as he realizes that the royal bloodline is not washed, and he starts calling Vegeta the king. It's not that he has changed, it's just that Goku acting evil was for different reasons than Vegeta in the actual manga. You see, Vegeta was evil because of his ego, but Goku's evil came from trauma and survival. Of course, Vegeta isn't on board with being the king or whatever, but he's glad that Goku has started acting friendly. Vegeta introduces Goku to Trunks and Bulma and to the Z Fighters. He also explains that they are all on the same side from now on. And for the most part, Goku settles in on Earth. He spends most of his time in the middle of nowhere beside Piccolo, but because he spent decades of his life locked in on revenge, he feels empty. He doesn't know what to do with his life anymore. And one day, Vegeta asks if he wants to help out in picking some fruits and vegetables and takes him to Grandpa Gohan's garden on Mount Paozu. There, Goku helps and continues helping every now and again until a few months later, where he starts living at Grandpa Gohan's house as a full-time employee. Now, whenever Grandpa Gohan watches him work, he senses a deep emptiness inside of him. Around this time, Goku has also been rereading the classic novel Journey to the West. So one day he tells him, from now on, I'm gonna call you Son Goku. He chooses this name for two reasons. First, because of the Monkey King in the book. Second, because the Goku part of the name means aware of emptiness. He wants this man to understand his own hollow feeling so he can eventually fill it with something better. And with that, for the first time in his life, Goku feels a strange sense of peace. This is where Goku truly starts to heal and become an inhabitant of Earth. As the years go by, he has his fateful encounter with Chi-Chi, who is looking to find herself a good husband and bring back to Fire Mountain. Now finally, let's talk about today's fifth point. As Goku has been redeemed and has also joined the Z Fighters, what's next? The upcoming villains are mostly going to be the same, but there will be some major role reversals. The Saiyan who comes from the future to warn about the androids is actually going to be Goku's son, future Gohan, while Trunks is going to be like Gohan in the narrative, at least as far as the power scaling is concerned. He'll basically be the potential man of Dragon Ball Z. Vegeta will sacrifice himself during the Cell Saga. Meanwhile, Goku will sacrifice himself during the Buu Saga. Though in this case, it won't be because he's jealous of Vegeta. It'll be more because of his guilt and regret over all of the lives that he's taken. Other than this, Vegeta's daughter Bulla will be born around when Goten was originally born, and Goten will be born about the time Bulla originally was. Bulla and Gohan would be like the original Goten and Trunks, but their lives won't be the same. Same goes for Trunks. He won't have the same life as the canon Gohan. Their parents are different, and it's not like Trunks will marry Videl just because he's born when Gohan was supposed to be, right? Eventually, as we enter the narrative of Dragon Ball Super, Vegeta will naturally be the one who gets the Super Saiyan God transformation via the ritual. At this point, Vegeta and Goku would have become a very stable duo, much like the Goku and Vegeta we all know and love in the canon. Now, we can't cover every single detail of Super, or this video would be 3 hours long, so let's just look at the highlights. Most of the supervillains will stay the same, except Zamasu may end up taking Vegeta's body instead, and how it'll be Goku and Vegeta who get in touch with Broly and Paragus rather than Frieza. Also, Goku would not get Ultra Ego, unlike the original series where Vegeta achieves Ultra Ego as a parallel to Goku's Ultra Instinct. This Goku would always be one step behind Vegeta, and instead of Ultra Ego, which requires an ego on the same level as Beerus, Toppo, or the canon Vegeta, Goku will keep following in Vegeta's footsteps, and ultimately, he will also achieve Ultra Instinct. And while up against an opponent more powerful than ever, Black Frieza from the manga, as they eventually run out of options, they'll use the Fusion Dance while both are using Ultra Instinct and become Ultra Gogeta, who'll be among the top 5 strongest in the entire multiverse. Meanwhile, Piccolo will still be stuck raising all of their grandkids. Thanks for watching the video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and click on this video next for more great anime content. Go on, check it out.